Good evening. Welcome to Expat Insights. I'm your host Raju Mandhyan. Here at Expat Insights, we take external views of internal successes by foreigners, expats, and immigrants who have made Philippines their home. Today, we have a wonderful guest from England. She's made Philippines her home for the last 14 years, and she is the Executive Vice President of Q2 HR Solutions, a headhunting company. She's also the chairperson of Asian Student Christian Foundation, which helps students, of course, and the chairperson of Springboard Foundation, another social organization. She is also the director of the British Chamber of Commerce Philippines and the former president of the British Women's Association. Our guest tonight, Miss Sarah Macleod. Welcome to Expat Insights.
Hello. I'm a former BCC teacher.
Oh, former BCCP director. So she's not a director of the chamber right now. She used to be. So welcome to Expat Insights, and tell us a bit about yourself. About Sarah Macleod.
About who I am.
Yeah, about just a bit about not the things that I didn't say.
I haven't. Who am I?
Who are you? Who are you?
Who am I? I suppose I'm a fairly friendly person. I love life. I do live life to the full. I enjoy everything that I do. I love my work. I love the people I work with, and I love the life that we've made here.
In the Philippines.
Yes.
Okay, talking about the Philippines, let's talk about light stuff first, no? Tell me, what kind of food in the Philippines do you like? What's your favorite Filipino dish? Let's start with that.
Filipino dish. I like adobo.
Okay.
I prefer the chicken to the pork.
All right.
Anything barbecued. I love shrimp. I could eat shrimp every day.
Only Filipino shrimp or any kind of shrimp?
Filipino shrimp is bigger.
Okay.
UK shrimp is very small. All of it apart from some of the funny brown runny stuff.
The brown running stuff?
Some of those types of foods I can't cope with.
Okay, okay.
But anything that looks like good meat. And the sweet, I'm not so keen on the sweet stuff.
Leche flan, halo-halo,
okay.
buko pandan.
Not really a sweetie person.
What kind of
canton, yes.
Do you cook any Filipino food?
Noodles, pancit canton, noodles.
Pancit
and I tried adobo. Not that
good. You didn't succeed?
It's okay, but very westernized adobo.
You know, adobos don't have a specific recipe, they say, in the Philippines. You can do anything you want with adobo.
So you have family recipes, though. There are people that can give you family recipes.
Okay.
But it's not the same.
All right. Okay, sure. We'll try your adobo one day, or your pancit canton. Tell us a bit about your first experiences in the Philippines. Any fun experience, like you came into the Philippines and you say, oh my God, 7,000 islands. Did something like that happen to you when you came here?
I think the first thing was coming off, my husband was already here.
Your husband being Mr.
Macleod.
Oh, he was here on the show one time, yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And he was already here, and he came out for a short term, and he called to say, this is a lovely place, I love this place, you have to come and have a see. And the first time I came, I just remember coming out of Naya.
Naya is?
The airport.
Oh, Naya, okay.
Naya. And seeing, in those days, the wall with there used to be the metal...
barricades, yeah, like a wire mesh.
And it was floor to ceiling.
1996, that old airport existed, yeah, I know.
Full of people, and just coming out and just thinking, wow, there's a lot of people here.
I had the same experience, I'm not kidding you. This was back in '81 when I came out of the airport, and there were people behind that fence, and they were all waving to people, come on out, come on out, come on out, and people selling cigarettes here. It was really weird. But that airport doesn't exist anymore. Or it does.
It does exist, yeah, but you have to go downstairs.
Well, I came in through the old airport that time, yeah. Oh, you went down at the exit. There's a fence there. There's a back.
No, it's the same airport, but in those days you could see people as you came out. Now you have to go down.
Okay.
So I suppose it's that. You're coming out and you think, wow. And then, yes, a little bit of the, as driving from the airport to the city, you see.
You drove or ham drove for you?
Taxi in those days.
Oh, taxi,
I drive now, though.
Okay.
And seeing the difference between the areas from the airport and the city and the diversity of the country, I think, was a bit of a shock, because I'd never seen such sort of wealth and poverty side by side.
Side by side,
like that.
So in the first few weeks that you settled down, did you like say, I like this place, I'm going to make this home, or did you want to go back? Did you came in from London?
No,
right?
I loved it.
You loved it from the get-go level, from square one?
Yeah, the first year we were here, we didn't have a car. So we had to use taxis and public transport and jeepneys and walk, and that's one of the best ways to learn about a city, is to actually do it by foot.
By foot. Whenever I ask people, especially expats who come and sit here and ask them, what do you like about the Philippines? The first answer, the pat answer is people.
Yeah, I
want to ask you, what's the second thing you like about the Philippines besides the people?
The music.
The Filipino music?
The Filipino music, but also the fact that the Filipinos love the 80s music.
Oh,
I love the 80s music.
Right. Okay.
The clothing, I think, and also the positiveness of the people.
Yeah, people still, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Philippines, I think, definitely the people is number one.
So it's 1 up to 10, it's still people,
it's still the people.
Still people. Yeah. All right. So Sarah, now tell us about, you wear so many hats. You are the Executive Vice President of Q2HR, a recruiting company. You are the Chairman of the Asian Student Christian Foundation. Where do you want to start with? Which of these subjects do you want to discuss first? Because we're talking about how to work your strengths, and that's your forte. So now, where do you want to start with? Do you want to start with Q2HR?
Yeah, I think
okay, tell us a bit about it.
Well, Q2HR Solutions is as you said, it's a recruitment and HR firm. It was started nearly 11 years ago by a Brit who was living here. Came here with a multinational company, and like a lot of us, fell in love with the country, sorry. Fell in love with a Filipina. And decided
he did?
Yeah. And
what was his name?
His name is Brendan White.
Brendan White, okay.
Good friend of ours, loves his rugby, loves his cricket. He decided to stay in the Philippines.
All right.
And he also wanted to do something slightly different. So he started the recruitment firm with his wife Trixie. Sadly, he passed away.
Oh, he did?
4 years ago.
Oh, I just checked the website. There was no mention of him passing away. I checked
his dates are there. It's very discreet.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I'm really sorry to talk about it.
But Trixie carried on.
Okay.
You know, we carried on, and we've moved forward from there. His legacy is still there because he started the company. But he believed that, again, people are the best assets, and that's how we work in the company. I work with great staff. What
differentiates Q2HR from every other headhunting company? How do you stand out, and what difference do you make?
I think the people first and foremost. We have I love the staff I work with. We have about 80 staff.
80 people?
Yeah, and they're a fantastic bunch. Most of them are far too young compared to myself, but anyway. They're a fantastic group of people.
I don't want to compare them to me.
Well, we could go there, but we're not going to go there.
Okay.
And it's the way I think that we believe that customer service is king, customer is king.
Yeah.
We train the staff to be as good as they can be in their positions. And I think that makes a difference, that we really do care what we're doing. And I think also because it's not a multinational HR or recruitment firm, we have that personal touch. We have the personal touch.
So you recruit in the Philippines for the Philippine company?
For the Philippines,
So no foreign postings?
No.
Not yet?
We have placed foreigners here in local positions, but no, it's Philippines for the Philippines. Well, and I like that. I like that.
And if it's no big secret, do you want to share what kind of industries and companies do you cater to?
We have
everything.
Everything. We've got 5 divisions that covers from executive search, which is how it started. So that's your core headhunting.
Right.
And then we have contractual workers. We have the call center side. We have the lower staff, you know, the entry-level staff, and we also do back office HR as well. So we can cover any industry.
All right.
Anytime.
Okay, fantastic. So we'll take a break, and we'll come back and talk to you about what you did last year in 2010 during the Ondoy disaster. So ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. We are with Sandra Macleod, and she did something wonderful for the Philippines 2010 during Ondoy, and we'll come back and ask her about this. So stay with us. This is your host, Raju Mandhyan. This is Expat Insights. Welcome back to Expat Insights. We are still with Sarah Macleod, and the reason Sarah Macleod is here on the show today because she was sent to us by several other expat friends who are friends to Expat Insights. Sarah, according to our promotion, has helped hundreds of people during the Ondoy disaster, but the truth is, Sarah claims she helped thousands of them, and we'll ask her how did this happen and what did she do to be successful with that. So Sarah, tell us the story about Ondoy. How did it all start?
It started on the day I think we all knew that the rains were
September
fairly heavy.
2009. 10?
10.
Okay.
No, 9.
9. Sorry, yeah.
Maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And actually Ham was going to Singapore to work. So we were driving to the airport, or trying to drive to the airport, and C5 from Ortigas to the airport. C5 was flooded, so we tried. EDSA was flooded. We went down onto the riverside, couldn't get to Rockwell that way, so we then went into Guadalupe and thought we'll try and get through that way, and realised that things were just sort of beginning to go a bit daft. And I love my BlackBerry, and I got a message on Facebook from Craig, who works with the Asian Student Christian Foundation, and just on Facebook saying that he had evacuees, and could he have a little bit of extra money from the British Women's Association for
This is on day 1 of Ondoy or post Ondoy? Day 2? Day 1. Day 1 he had evacuees already?
Day 1 on evacuees. Areas in Casiglahan and Rizal were already flooded, so the people had already left. Casiglahan had already been flooded, so I'm on my Facebook. We've been in the car about 6 hours, and I just start posting comments and calling friends to say, can we have some money for rice? And it just sort of spiraled from there. It was very accidental. People in the UK, friends that used to be in Manila, were seeing it on the news, and I just started getting Facebook comments after Facebook comments from people saying, how can we help? We'd like to send money. We'd like to help you in your
But wait, by day one,
on the Saturday,
news was already out that Philippines is in trouble?
Yes.
Day 1, and then what made you think of rice rather than saving them first? Why rice
Because that's what Craig asked for, because he has a school called Mango.
Somewhere in Casiglahan.
Yes, and that's on high ground. So the people in the township around came up to the school for shelter.
Within hours of the rain floods.
Within hours. And we needed to feed them initially. Didn't know how bad it was at that point. So we managed to rally some money around and got some rice, and we couldn't go Mango, where the school is, where the evacuees were, you couldn't get to within that first 24 hours. So we were stuck on the other side with all the guys on over the floods. But we did manage to get there on the Sunday night, and we were able to take water and things like that. And it wasn't until we actually got there that we realised how bad it really, really was. Because every year it rains here, every year areas flood, every year people need help, but this was a different...
This was a different kind of
totally different. You know, you've got complete areas that disappeared, devastated with mud and water. And that Sunday I realised that all these people telling me they wanted to help, that maybe we could do something.
Before I ask you further details on what really you achieved, can you tell us who Craig is and the 3 schools you mentioned, Mango, Cashew Nut and Grapevine? 3 schools?
No, Mango is a children's home.
It's a children's home up in Casiglahan?
Yeah, just above.
And this is managed by Craig?
Craig is the executive director.
What's his last name?
Burrows.
Craig Burrows.
He's the executive director of the Asian Student Christian Foundation, which is a UK-based charity who started here
the Mango
25 years ago.
All right.
So Mango is a children's home, so they have children from the surrounding area.
It still exists?
Still exists. Still exists. Next door to that, on the Piatis rubbish dump, that's cashew tree.
Cashew nut?
Yeah, that's
a school too?
That's a school for the little ones.
Why fruit names of fruits?
Craig.
Just like that.
Craig, he likes.
Well, they're creative. It's nice to have a school named Mango.
So cashew nut is the school for the little ones. So they're from 4, 5, and 6, and that's right on the edge of Piatis rubbish dump. And then Grapevine is a separate. It's not anything. Grapevine is sponsoring students. So anyone can sponsor us.
Grapevine is just anywhere in the world?
No, here.
Anywhere in the
anybody in the world can sponsor a child in the Philippines to go to school. So they have a program where you can sponsor 1 child, 2 child, 3 children through there.
So when did help start pouring in terms of rice, money, medicines?
Straight away. Straight away. We put the call out.
I think just Facebook.
It started with Facebook, and then obviously when we eventually got there on the Sunday night and we did a tour of Casiglahan, and realised that people had died. It was rough. It was really rough.
I have some pictures. I'll just ask the studio to please flash those pictures as you share stories about those pictures. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you ended up helping thousands. Any idea, like 3,000, 5,000?
You can never tell. In that whole area, you have to say playing to your strengths. I know the area of Rizal and Casiglahan. You can't help everybody. I know that in Binondo, I know in other parts of Manila and up north, Baguio, there
Picture one. This is.
That's from work.
That's the last. Oh, that's from QT.
That's from Q2. Yeah, that's us receiving.
Is Trixie in there? Anyone?
Yes, she's
Red.
on my left.
The one in black.
Yes.
All right.
Holding the trophy.
Okay.
And that was our Investors in People trophy.
IIP.
Yeah.
All right.
So
as soon as the next picture. Oh, there's another one. Is this you?
This isn't me, but this is some of the helpers. What we did once we realised what we had going on.
This is like day one, or how many days after?
No, this is about 3 or 4 days later.
Okay.
We put out an appeal through the British Women's, through the Australian Women's.
Can you just run the pictures a bit slowly? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
These are these guys.
Wait, go back to that, the one people packing stuff. This stuff already came in from, these were purchased locally, or people sent stuff?
It's a mixture. It's a mixture of, we put the call out through the different women's groups.
Yeah.
And friends and people that we know in the Philippines.
Yeah.
People sent us clothing, shoes, food, and money, so that we could go and buy rice and milk powder, baby powder.
What are those colorful little ball-like things in there? What are those? There's a food packages, the blue and green. They look like Christmas decor to the right. These are food packages.
Food packages, noodles.
Oh, those are noodles ready to go. Okay.
Yeah. However, we realised after a week that things that needed to be cooked wasn't a good idea, because they didn't have anything to cook with.
No fire.
No.
No fire.
Okay. So we realised that the best way was pandesal, boiled eggs, fruit.
Ready to eat.
Ready to eat. Yeah. Ready to eat. The rice was great for Mango, because they could cook it and give it to the local community.
All right.
But when you go into the local community, they didn't have any facilities to cook.
Okay.
So we had friends cooking hundreds and thousands of eggs.
Boiled eggs.
Boiled eggs, so we could take boiled eggs.
So people would survive.
Yeah. And we set
next
up a
picture,
house.
Next picture. This is
some of my friends.
Days after.
Days after. This is the weeks after, actually.
Mr. Macleod is not there. I don't see him.
Yes,
is
he's the one in the red with the funny hat on.
Oh, there you go. He's in disguise. Yeah, there I see him. Okay.
These are friends of mine from Manila, and people wanted to help, but they didn't know.
These are British Women's Association people?
Mostly, yeah. British Women's, British Chamber.
The big man?
That's Keith Perrin.
Yeah, I know. British Chamber. Yeah, he was here. Okay.
And the lady in the middle is from the British Embassy. And people wanted to help. They were saying, how can we help? But we work, we can't come every day.
Right.
So in certain areas, once the rains had gone and the floods had gone, the people were left with mud, knee-deep in sloshy, horrible mud
these
in their houses.
Just in Rizal, Antipolo, Muntinlupa,
all that
Marikina, everywhere.
Everywhere.
How were you guys reaching there? How are you getting together here in the Makati neighborhood?
Yeah, in convoy. We'd meet on the Starbucks.
Drive,
yeah. We'd meet in the Starbucks on Commonwealth Avenue.
Okay.
And then we'd go in convoy. Those of us that had cars, four-wheel drive.
Wow.
And we'd literally go house to house. And although we didn't help everybody, but the mere fact that we were there with our buckets and spades, cleaning out houses, galvanised the local people to actually, the local government people to come out and help. And in conjunction with this, I don't know whether we have a photo, we did medical missions as well, because we realised that...
That was days after Ondoy?
Yeah, weeks
after.
Up until this Christmas.
This is...
that's two of my children.
Those are two boys? These are the ones you call mud wrestlers?
Yes.
And they are somewhere in Marikina?
This is in Santa Cruz. In
downtown? Santa Cruz?
In Rizal.
Rizal, uptown,
along the river.
Okay.
You can see that they're knee-deep in mud. These are two of my boys.
Yeah.
Who came every weekend with us. And this is one house that we cleaned out of knee-deep in mud, and we cleaned it out one Saturday morning.
When you were going deep into the crisis areas with buckets of food and rice and medicines and things, were not people clamoring to grab it from you, or did you make your own choices?
No, not at all.
How was the reception?
We had, there's a photo there, Craig, the one in yellow.
This is what day from Ondoy? Ondoy was September 18, September 8?
Around there, yeah. To be honest, it's a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
Craig is the one there on the
Which
photograph.
one is Craig over here?
In the yellow.
Right in the middle with the
yeah,
jacket.
in the yellow.
Yeah.
And the lady in the blue with the stethoscope
Yeah.
is Caroline Cliff, great friend of ours.
She lives in the Philippines?
They used to live here. They've retired here, but they swing between here, New Zealand, and Scotland,
right.
where she's at the moment.
That big
She
boy in
lives-
front with folded arms, your son?
That's my youngest.
And the man in brown T-shirt?
Do you know what? He was a Czechoslovakian who found out what we were doing, came for 2 weeks.
Yeah. He flew down just for the purpose of...
His parents were here and he was coming through, and he just stayed and helped.
Yeah.
But Caroline in the blue set up the medical mission for me because she used to be a nurse, and we realised that we needed, and that's not my strength. So one of my strengths is finding people to help me do what I need to do.
That's your strength. Working your strength.
So Caroline very, very kindly came along. So we were named the mud wrestlers because I wasn't allowed near the medicine because that would be very dangerous. And she would run the medical missions. So I ran the mud wrestlers, she ran the medical missions, and with the money that we got in, we were able to...
How about equipment, medical equipment? Where was that coming from?
You
know, tables, gloves, bandages.
We bought them all.
You bought everything?
Everything that we needed.
Even like stretchers and stuff? Was there a need for stretchers or no?
No, we'd carry people into backs of cars.
Oh, okay. And what is this? This is
donations from around Manila, and this is actually at Mango, the blue paint gives.
That's the school?
That's the children's home.
Okay.
So we would collect stuff in Manila.
So you made Mango your headquarters?
Yeah, completely. And that's donations from people in Manila. School things, books, clothing, mats, bedwear, mattresses.
Yeah.
We were given everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Wow, wow, wow.
But obviously you couldn't give things like...
you couldn't use it beneficially
until later on.
Until things dried up a bit.
Yeah, this is at work. These are my guys at work.
This is Q2HR
That's
gang.
my guys at work.
All right. They look all younger than me for sure.
They're definitely they're younger than me, so they're definitely younger than you.
How can you say that? And this
this is the Christmas of after Ondoy. This is the cashew nut school.
This is the cashew nut
school.
Where is cashew nut? Mango is in Casikla. Oh, Payatas. Okay, right. Okay, yeah.
So this is the 3 months after Ondoy. And that's Ham as Santa.
That's Ham?
That's Ham.
Why is he always in disguise? Does he like to do that? Your husband? Does he like to be in?
That's his job.
Does he have a
year
secret identity or something? Yeah?
I think he fancies himself as Santa.
Oh.
But no, he does that every year for us. But you can see that even 2 months, 3 months after.
Yeah.
We go.
Yeah. This is not a picture part. This is the wrong picture. This is the wrong picture.
Oh, that's your new book.
No, forget that. let me ask you. Let me ask you something else. Now, when you gathered all these gifts, these donations and money, are you done away with them, or were they leftovers? Anything completely used up?
Completely used up. Every single penny. We got involved. I think you mentioned earlier Springboard Foundation.
Springboard Foundation, the one with Annette Helbig.
And they have proper sort of banking and financing. You have to remember that people were sending me money.
Yeah.
I share a bank account in the UK with my mum.
Right.
And people were sending money to the UK, and then I would draw it out at this side.
Right.
And you know, it's quite an honour that people would give me that much money. I think.
Did you have to account for it to the government, to the banks, to the BIR? Nowhere, nothing.
No.
So funds just came into your personal account and went out to the people in trouble. Fantastic.
I would go down to the bank. I have an ATM in my office, and I'd go down every morning and take out the maximum I could take out. And then someone would come along and go and buy what we needed to buy for that day. And we kept receipts. We have a complete set of receipts and books and everything that we did and everything that we bought.
In your opinion, how many people did you involve to support you?
I did some checking. I knew you'd ask me that. I checked my book. I got donations from about 234 people
across the world.
Across the world.
How many dirtied their hands? How many were mud wrestlers? They said, "Okay, I'll roll up my sleeve, come and help you in Ondoy." From locally, expats from the Philippines.
About 100 overall.
And Filipinos, of course,
as
too.
Well,
from Q2HR and other groups.
Everybody.
Totally, how many people just volunteered?
About 100 to 150 people, but not every week. The nice thing was, what we were doing meant that if you couldn't do it every week, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
You came and did what you could when you could. And it was fantastic. It galvanized the community, I think. Especially in, I think it was Rizal that we were called the British, even though we weren't just British.
You were so many assorted.
It was just the British are here and the British care, and we were taken into their homes to show what they were doing. And we've been back. We haven't stopped going back. We
to that neighborhood.
Yeah, we go back and see them.
Sandra, let's take a break. Hey, Sarah, let's take a break. We'll come back and ask you what drove you to do this, and what do you foresee the future of the Philippines, given that it's such a disaster-ridden country. Yeah? So let's take that break. 1 minute. We'll take that break and come back and talk to Sarah Macleod one more time. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. This is Expat Insights. Welcome back to Expat Insights. We are still talking to Sarah Macleod, and she just shared her story with on the incident 2 years ago. Sarah, tell me something. What inside of you? I mean, what about you as a human being drove you to do this? What strength inside of you?
Do you know, I have no idea. I just know that there was something that I could do. I didn't realize that it would build into as big as it was back then. I've always been, I think the trendy word is socially responsible. I can blame my dad for that. Always believed that...
Why do you blame your dad for it?
Because he was also very socially responsible.
This is back in England.
Yeah.
You want to share a story about your dad?
I just think as a human being he was a very generous of heart. And he always volunteered in the community. He was a teacher, headmaster.
This is in the heart of London, or?
No, on the east coast of England. But he was a swimming coach. He was in squash. He was part of the community's Rotary, that sort of thing. So he's always been out there giving his time to the community, depending on what it was. So I suppose we grew up with that.
And he means how many siblings?
I have a brother, an older brother. Yeah,
that's it.
Just one.
Is your dad still alive?
No, he passed away last year.
I'm sorry.
Sadly. Yeah, it was sad.
Yeah.
But I think we grew up with that. We grew up with him always, on a committee, doing something for the community, and always putting himself out there to help others. I think as any growing up teenager, I couldn't see the point. During my early 20s and enjoying life.
You could not see the point.
Well, as a teenager, you're fairly selfish.
You're busy with other things.
With your own
You're
life.
growing up.
You've got boys and sports and school. So, what your parents are doing is a bit of an epiphany.
Yeah.
But as I grew through the 20s and came out the other side, and I sort of realised that actually
life, there's more to life.
It just came along accidentally. It really did. And coming here, I think. And seeing the fact that as expats, whether you're an expat here for 3 years with a company who's paying for everything, rich expats, poor expats, we're still fairly lucky and spoiled here, and I think
slightly better off than the rest of the world.
And I think we should have to do something. And whether or not you have the time, whether you sponsor a child or you actually get your hands dirty, it's entirely up to you. But I think all of us should do something. When we're a guest in another country that really needs...
You need to do a little bit more.
Yes,
because you're a guest.
I do. So it sort of started from there, the British Women's, with the charities that they support, and then moving into becoming chairman of Mango, because Craig and I have become very good friends. And just from there, and I think just actually...
Craig still lives here, or he comes back?
Yeah, he's been here his whole adult life.
Yeah.
And I think because it became very personal, I'm the chairman of the Mango, and the kids in Mango I've known for 10, 11 years.
How many kids are there in Mango?
There's about, on and off, between 42 and 48 kids in the children's home.
48? Yeah. Until what age group? Until what
until they finish education. Until
high school? Until college?
Yes. If they want to go to college, we'll pay for them.
So Mango, the foundation looks after them all through?
Yes.
Wow, that's a huge investment. That's a long-term partnership.
And that's what we want. You can't throw a child out onto the street at 16 and expect them to fend for themselves.
How about cashew?
Cashew's just the little ones.
And you let them off after a certain period?
There is another school called Papaya Academy, which is not part of ASCF. It's part of a Dutch...
Asian Christian Foundation.
It's not part of that. Papaya is part of a Dutch foundation that Craig also runs. So the kids can then move on to there. So I think it's a worthy investment. Education is definitely something that I think is absolutely key.
Key to everything.
Key to everything.
Key to changing the world.
And if you meet these children, they all want to become teachers or social workers or doctors or nurses because they want to give back to the community.
They all have dreams.
Most of them come back to the community.
At a very young age, they realize they have to give back to the community?
They begin to feel that.
Because they're getting it from you. And they
I think getting it from the foundation, not just me.
Well, I mean,
the whole,
you people,
the family,
like,
the family.
Yeah.
And they see that they've been helped by people.
Others,
and they want to give back. And they're amazing, amazing children.
Sarah, I have 3 questions for you regarding the theme that we're talking about, no? Working your strengths. But before I do that, going back a bit towards Ondoy, that was a disaster that struck us. We didn't expect it, and we kind of messed up, like most countries do, like it happened with Katrina, no? Today, 2 years hence, how do you think as Philippines, what has Philippines learned from it, and what are they doing about, what are we doing about it today?
I'm not actually sure we've learned anything from it, to be honest.
You feel we haven't learned anything?
I don't think so.
I saw some ads that they had rubber boats, etc., ready for any rain season. Marikina, Muntinlupa.
There'll be pockets of areas that have helped. I mean, we've done that down in Mango. We have a store cupboard that has the same sort of things, rubber boats, ropes, and things like that to help people.
Right.
But it's a very small part. You're not going to solve the problem until you solve the problem of flooding. And yes, flooding will always happen in every country, but the devastation that flooding causes here because of whether it's the government's fault or the local council's fault or the people's fault.
It's everybody's fault. Never one association.
It's everybody's fault. And it will happen again. I'm sure it will happen again.
Yeah.
Not in the next few years, maybe, but...
let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's not hope it happens.
Again.
Let's talk about working your strengths now. You're here to talk about working your strengths, and your company is also investors in people. Let me ask you, at the 3 levels, no? How should an individual work his strengths? How do I discover my strengths, and how do I work them? What's your thoughts on that?
That's a good question.
That's a good question. So finally, in 45 minutes, I have one good question.
That's a good question. I think really it's understanding who you are and really knowing, being honest with yourself.
All right.
Of who you are and learning what you're good at. I think when you start out in your working life, we all make mistakes in the jobs that we choose. And I think some of us, I fell over Q2 and HR accidentally. It wasn't something that I ever did.
We are good at accidents. I think you come out good. Yeah.
But I do know that I like people. I do like people.
So you discovered that, and that was a strength.
Like I like being with people. I like working with people. I think my attitude is positive. I have a very cup half full attitude. I think, problems are not problems. They're just challenges to overcome. And no isn't really in my vocabulary. If somebody says you can't do that, then
you'll do it.
You've got to find a way of proving them wrong.
Put you in a corner and come back.
Absolutely. So, and also the personality and calmness. I tend not to get too excited. I can step back and look at a problem.
Okay.
And I know that I can help people. I may not be the best at some of the things, but I know that I can guide people. And I love watching people take on suggestions and ideas and make it their own and succeed. It's one of the biggest pleasures is to watch other people, especially in work, young people growing up and doing well with their own lives.
So I see 3 points. If you want to discover your strengths, number 1 is find out if you enjoy doing what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Then to be able to step back and say, okay, that's what I like and that's what the results are. So taking a bird's eye view of your own performance, of your own behavior.
And constantly learning. I think a lot of people feel it's the responsibility of someone else to give them the education. You start work and you want training, and you think it's the responsibility of your managers or your people around you to give you that training. And I think that's a mistake that many of us make when we're young.
So at the group level, at the larger community level, how should a community discover what their strengths are? Individually, okay, you like what you do, and you can step back and see that what you do gives good results. How about a larger group of people, say people in a disaster area, people faced with challenges, or even countries? What can a country do? Big question?
Okay. I say you're moving into political ground in the Philippines.
No, I'm not talking about politics at all. I'm talking about people, just people.
But you need somebody, you need a leader. You need somebody that has that will to drive it forward. Somebody that can say, you do this, you do this, you do this, because they understand what their strengths are. And you need planning. You have to have somebody that can see the vision to see further than next week or next year, to look 10 years, 20 years ahead, to see what might happen. Always look at what might go wrong, and then put plans in place to make sure that it doesn't go wrong.
So in terms of larger group of people, somebody needs to take the leadership role.
There always has to be people
like
that
you
drive
did,
it.
like you did with Ondoy, yeah? Even though it was accidental.
Yeah, and I think that was my strength, is that I knew that I could count on certain people in the community. I knew people that had strengths, like Caroline in the medical side.
Who's Caroline, the lady,
Cliff,
the medical?
the blue,
yeah,
but she
Cliff,
had
Cliff, okay.
Cliff.
Is she still in town?
She's in Scotland at the moment, but she'll be back.
If she ever comes back, can you send her to this chair? Yeah, please, yeah.
And I knew that it was something that I couldn't do. You know, paracetamol and a cough medicine is about my limit.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I needed someone to do that for me.
A specialist, yeah.
Yeah, and I knew she would take charge. So she took charge. She asked me for the money, and she took charge. And the same thing, I think, goes in any community, in any organisation. You pick the people that you know will do the job.
Sarah, what, in your eyes, in your mind's eye, from your experience in the Philippines, and because you love this country, what are the strengths of the Filipino and the Philippines? What are the strengths that you see as an outsider?
I think the Philippines is...
People, 1 to 10.
The people, yeah, I think the Philippine people
beyond that, any values, any cultural habits?
I love the family values here of family.
Yeah.
I think the Western world could learn a little bit about the family values that the Filipino families have. The love of the old and the young. Yeah. I think in the Western world we tend to forget the old.
We do? I'm glad I'm not in the West.
Yeah, so am I. And I think we could learn from that. I think in an organisation at work, there are frustrations in any work. You know, wherever you work, people say to me,
challenges.
Yeah, how do you work with so many? I'm the only white person in an organisation. Yeah. And there's frustrations wherever you work. So you just have to make sure that you look at the positive sides rather than the negative sides. Right. And work with what you have. And I think there's a drive to succeed. The young Filipinos that I work with all want to do better. They all want to move up the ladder. They want to learn. They're all in their 20s for the most part. The youth, well educated. I have staff that are taking themselves through MBA and further education. Sorry? MBAs and further education, so they're paying for themselves.
These are students who are coming out of Mango, or anyone you come across?
Anyone, I think. I think the young...
My son does. He's paying for his own MBA now.
And I think if they pay for it themselves, then they value it more. And I think that the Philippine people have a natural drive to succeed. I think over the years they've had a bad lot from the top.
Bad lot from the top. Bad lot from the top. Okay, not just bad luck from somewhere else, but bad luck from the top.
I think they come out strong.
I agree with you. I think that's my belief system too. Yeah, I think it's just something kind of rotted at the top. Otherwise, the rest of the system was perfect. Yeah. So, what do you foresee, given that, say, the bad lot at the top disappears and cleans up? What do you foresee, Sarah?
See, that's the area that I think, as a foreigner, is a very... You can claim the fifth many times, I think. But I do think that... I think the one thing that I would say, if you could do anything here, is the planning. Is this constant change at the top, where the next president that comes along doesn't want to be seen carrying on the work of the former president. So that stops, and they start again, and that stops, and they start again, and you're never going to get out.
No, I think my question was not about what you can do or what one should do or anybody else should do. My question, let me rephrase it, is what's your dream for the Philippines? What do you wish? That's the question. It's easier. What do you wish?
World peace. No,
world peace.
I think just to carry on the way it's going, if we could speed it up a little bit.
All right, so we're doing right things now.
I think there are a lot of right things going on. I think if we keep moving in that direction, it's not going to change overnight, for sure. But we have a lot of good things here with industry and investments, and I think the Philippines has to be open to more investments from the outside.
Right. I agree with you, absolutely. I totally agree with you.
I think it should be opened up even more. The BPO and call center industry is one example that when you
we're opening up there.
You give allowances and you give tax allowances, then the people will come, the investment will come, and it gives a lot of work to a lot of young people, which in turn opens up shops and stores and shopping and clubs and pubs. So why not do that for other industries? Why limit it to one? Because it's working with one.
I totally agree with you, and actually we had a discussion last week at the Ateneo, Rockwell, and this was the discussion that we should focus on our strengths. We should loosen up a bit, and we should do what we're doing now much more intensely and much more accurately. So that was...
Stop worrying about the nationality.
Yeah, forget about the personal issues.
Forget which country.
Forget skin. Forget caste, color, and creed.
Everything. Just let if somebody wants to come and set up a business here, make it easier to set up a business here.
Please
because it's for the good of everybody.
Now you and your family, the Macleod family, you and your 4 boys and your handsome husband who keeps playing Santa Claus up there, what's your dream for yourself? Do you want to live here for the rest of your lives, or what do you want to achieve?
That's a decision we haven't made yet. You know, after all these years, that commitment of actually formally deciding to stay. And I think that's partly because of the boys. Because now that the youngest has only got 1 year left at school, he's also going to be leaving. Because he'll
4 boys. You have 4 boys.
4 boys,
Okay,
so he'll be gone next year or the year after.
Okay.
And that's when you think, do you want to be here when they're all on the other side of the world? And
that's his choice.
That's his choice, but it's a choice we have to make. Do we stay here, or do we go back, or do we go back to South Africa? But I really don't know. But for the foreseeable future,
You're here.
I'm here.
You're here. You love this place.
Yeah, I do.
Sarah, it's been wonderful having you on this show. Thank you for what you did during the Ondoi thing, and thank you for your dreams and hopes for the Philippines. If there's anything you want to say to your friends from the British Chamber or the British Women's Association or the Asian Student Christian Foundation, the TV is yours, the monitor is yours for the next 1 minute, and we thank you so much for sharing your stories. I hope they inspire other heroes like you to come up. You don't need recognition, you just need to inspire. So the camera is yours, please.
I suppose for the children of Mango, hello.
Hello, Mango.
Hello, Mango.
Hello, Cash.
I'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks. And I think to the friends and everybody that helped and supported, I think it's, thank you. It was an amazing experience, and reliving it today and looking at some of the photos, when Raju asked me to find the photos, wow, it was 3 months, 4 months non-stop, and it was an amazing experience. And I think personally I got more out of it than I gave, and I thank everybody involved that came forward and helped.
So in terms of working your strengths is do what you love, take a step back and see what the outcomes are. And what is the third suggestion? Or just 2 is fine? 2 is fine, I think. Then just go for it. Just go for it to act upon it. So good night, and thank you very much. Thank you for watching Expat Insights. I'm your host Raju Mandhyan. We'll see you next week with the Ambassador of Malaysia. Good night and mabuhay po. Thank you so much, Sarah.